If you want to build massive biceps, what exercises should you do? If you want bulging arms that fit snugly in short sleeves but are confused by all the workout information out there, you've come to the right video. In this video, I've compiled all the well-known bicep exercises and I will evaluate and rank them from S tier to F tier, depending on their effectiveness for building muscle. At the end of the video, I'll introduce the single best and single worst bicep exercises, so be sure to stick around. First up is the most basic of basics, the barbell biceps curl. First, a drawback is that there's no resistance at the bottom of the movement where the bicep is most stretched, and the peak load occurs mid-range, emphasizing the contraction. Also, when using heavy weights, your body tends to lean forward, and engaging your core to correct this can make the movement quite fatiguing. It's less tiring if you only use your biceps, but it's objectively harder when your whole body gets involved. I'm also not a huge fan of the fact that your body isn't stabilized, which opens up the possibility of cheating. So, while it's not bad, I personally find it has many shortcomings, so I'll give it a B-. The dumbbell curl has similar pros and cons, so I'll give it the same B-. Of course, it's not the optimal exercise, but setting personal records is so fun that I often include the barbell curl in my routine. Now, what about the incline dumbbell curl? The incline curl allows your arms to go behind your torso, which gives the biceps a great stretch. Currently, there are nearly 30 studies suggesting that muscle growth per set can be enhanced when the muscle is stretched. Therefore, the incline curl is a great exercise because it stretches the biceps, and since you're seated with your back against the bench, it reduces core engagement and is less taxing in terms of fatigue. Of course, there is still no resistance at the bottom of the movement, so it emphasizes the contracted portion of the bicep rather than the stretched portion. However, since the absolute length of the bicep itself is increased, I don't see it as a significant problem. If you subscribe to my channel, you likely know the difference between stretching a muscle and emphasizing the stretched portion, so the incline curl gets an A+. Next, the preacher curl. This is a personal favorite. First off, it's great because it puts a lot of load on the biceps in the stretched position. Also, since your arms are supported, it reduces the involvement of the front delts and you can handle heavy weights without losing your balance. For fitness beginners, this might not resonate, but when the barbell biceps curl weight approaches your body weight, your entire body falling forward becomes a very significant hindrance. Not much to brag about, but I recently did 8 reps of barbell curls with 55 kilograms. However, I constantly realized that lifting and holding a weight nearly 2/3 of my body weight in front of me demands an immense amount of balance and core engagement every time. After doing a heavy biceps curl like this, my whole body just feels exhausted. However, an exercise like the preacher curl, where the barbell's resistance is supported by a pad, is excellent in terms of balance and fatigue. For reference, there are currently 3 studies comparing the two titans, the incline dumbbell curl and the preacher curl. They all agree that the incline curl excels at upper bicep growth, while the preacher curl is better for lower bicep growth. Given that all 3 studies consistently claim this, we can quite definitively accept the argument that incline curls are for the upper biceps and preacher curls are for the lower biceps. Another interesting point is if you look closely at these studies, the incline curl was slightly better for overall bicep growth, while the preacher curl was actually a bit more effective for growing the brachialis and brachioradialis muscles. The reason is that the biceps cross the shoulder, so they get the stretching effect from the incline curl, but the brachialis and brachioradialis, which only cross the elbow, don't get stretched when the arm moves behind the torso in an incline curl. That's because they don't cross the shoulder. Instead, they experience the best muscle growth effects from the preacher curl, where maximum resistance is applied when the elbow is extended. Of course, a larger brachialis pushes out the biceps, making the arm appear thicker, but strictly considering only biceps, the preacher curl might actually be slightly more effective for brachialis growth. So, while it's theoretically perfect, for that reason, I can't give it an S tier. I'll assign it an A+. How about the cable Bayesian curl, combining incline and preacher curl's benefits? If you set the cable height high, not only are the biceps stretched, but a strong load is also applied to that stretched portion. So, combining benefits makes it the best bicep exercise in theory, but it's not that simple. First, if you look at the moment arm involving the elbow and shoulder joints, you can see the shoulder flexion moment of the deltoid is huge. It's almost double the elbow moment of the bicep. This means that compared to other bicep exercises, the deltoids have to work a lot harder. When the moment trying to pull the shoulder back is this large, the movement can become unstable, and it can be technically difficult to maintain this position. When the difficulty of the movement increases like this, it's not ideal for muscle growth. In fact, a 2025 randomized controlled trial from Iran compared the preacher curl and the cable Bayesian curl and found no significant difference in muscle growth between the two exercises. However, to be precise, the preacher curl showed slightly better growth in the brachialis and brachioradialis, while the Bayesian curl showed slightly better bicep growth, which aligns with what I mentioned earlier. The brachialis doesn't benefit from the stretch through the shoulder, so it grows well with the preacher curl. So, theoretically, the Bayesian curl combines the benefits of incline and preacher curls, but actual muscle growth was similar to the preacher curl. Therefore, although this is just one study, the cable Bayesian curl doesn't seem overwhelmingly superior to other bicep exercises. Still, it's a good exercise, so I'll give the cable Bayesian curl an A+. Not quite S tier though. Next is the concentration curl. This exercise internally rotates the arm, increasing short head bicep activation. The movement is stable and doesn't use the whole body, so it causes less fatigue. However, it has the disadvantage of keeping the biceps in a shortened state. Plus, there's no resistance at the bottom of the movement, so it overemphasizes the contraction overall. Of course, if you lean your upper body slightly to the side to make it more like a preacher curl, you start to get a load at the bottom of the movement, but it still has many shortcomings, so I'll give it a B-. If you're not sure which of these many exercises to choose, please consider our coaching app that handles everything for you. Next up is the spider curl. This one also overemphasizes the contraction since the arms are in front of the torso. And there's no resistance at the bottom of the movement, and this time, there's no support for the arms, making the movement unstable. If you try it, you might find the movement feels a bit awkward unless you practice it for a long time. I'll give it a C0. Next up are all sorts of strange curl variations, the waiter curl, the plate curl, and so on. Common sense says all these weird nameless curls go straight to F tier. So, what's the best S tier exercise? If you could only do one bicep workout, which would you pick? The exercise that personally gave me the best results was the elbow-supported incline curl. I made up the name, so I'm not sure if it's fitting. First, your arms are behind your torso, so the biceps get a good stretch. And because the arm pad provides support, the exercise motion is very stable, reducing fatigue considerably. Plus, like the preacher curl, there's resistance at the bottom of the movement, which can emphasize the muscle stretch a bit more. The biceps themselves get a good stretch, there's resistance at the bottom of the movement, and the pad supporting the arm makes it very stable. Therefore, it's personally one of my favorite exercises. Theoretically, the type of exercise itself is not as crucial as more fundamental factors such as exercise intensity, volume, and frequency. Muscle growth won't suddenly accelerate just by changing a specific exercise or incorporating a new one into your routine. But funnily enough, when I was really hitting my arm workouts hard, this exercise helped me break through a plateau and I added an inch to my arms in 6 months. Of course, my body fat also went up by about 2%. Anyway, I couldn't break out of my plateau with other exercises, and suddenly seeing growth just by changing one type of exercise was a bit amazing. Of course, this is just a personal experience with a sample size of 1, not scientific research, so it's not very reliable, but it's still an exercise I personally really enjoy. Lastly, what's the worst bicep exercise? Any odd curl type like this is obviously not a good bicep exercise. But for now, I'm going to pick the most overrated bicep exercise. This might be a bit controversial, but I think it's the spider curl. Standard bicep exercises already overemphasize the contraction, so I don't think there's a need to shorten the bicep even more to stress that contraction further. A regular bicep curl already emphasizes it enough. When you extremely emphasize contraction, as with a spider curl, the muscle growth stimulus provided by a single set decreases. This means you might need to perform many more sets to achieve similar results. Of course, if you can handle high volume, that's fine. But if time is limited, prioritize exercises emphasizing muscle stretch. Also, the spider curl lacks arm support, causing your elbows to shift backward, making it neither an easy nor natural movement from a technical standpoint. Of course, if you enjoy it, you can certainly do it often. That concludes our bicep exercise tier list. If there's another body part you'd like us to cover, please leave a comment below. Are you finding working out difficult? The Radical Overload coaching app handles it all. It adjusts the weight and number of sets based on your workout performance and recovery speed, and also appropriately switches up the types of exercises. There's also a feature for emphasizing specific body parts, and you can balance hypertrophy and strength based on your goals. There are a variety of routines available, tailored to your workout frequency, including home training and specialized glute-focused programs. With just one app, you can experience the benefits of one-on-one coaching. There's a 2-week free trial, and you can find the link in the pinned comment.